This episode is brought to you by JLL. Get an insider view into the world of commercial real estate with JLL's podcast, Trends and Insights, the Future of Commercial Real Estate. Whether you're curious about making cities more sustainable, the evolution of office space, or AI opportunities, this podcast will help keep you a step ahead. Tune in for candid conversations with business leaders about the biggest trends impacting how we live, work, and play. Subscribe to Trends and Insights now at jll.com/podcast.
Survivor 46 is here, and so is On Fire, the only official Survivor podcast, and we have a twist this season. The winner of Survivor 45, Dee Valladares, will be joining us every week.
We're going behind the scenes of the biggest moments, the how and the why things happen, and the strategy and analysis you can only get from someone like me, a Survivor winner.
Listen to On Fire, the official Survivor podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to YA OK, the only podcast to discuss young adult books in the world. That's actually not true, but I'm going to pretend it is. It's a conspiracy theory that I am creating now.
If there's one thing that we love on our YA book podcast, it's discussing conspiracies.
Yes. And I am Eric J. Brown, the author of All That's Left in the World and Lucy to Find Me. And I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Alyssa. Say hello, Alyssa.
Hello. And I am not an author.
Too.
I'm Alyssa. I'm not an author. I like to read. And you can find me on all of my social medias at Alyssa Lube, LJUB. And we talk about sex education and other lifestyle fun things. That's my pitch for myself.
It's actually perfect because today we're talking with Anna Gracia, who is, her second book is coming out now. And her first book was a lot about teens and sex, and especially like sex education. We also talk about a very interesting swag that Anna was giving out for her debut novel. So
my type of woman. She was giving out condoms with the cover of her book printed on it. It's beautiful. Genius.
And now we're going to talk about her second book, The Misdirection of Fault Lines, which is coming out in April 2nd.
Yes.
So let's get into it. It's a long episode. Let's do this.
For 5 long years, our lives like magnetic fields. You are my universe. You are my universe, and I'm just a planet.
Just so you are all aware too, I didn't have windows in my house for I have windows, but there's 3 windows in my house that we had to rebuild, like a bay window, and the times for actually getting replacement windows are so insane that I just basically had no windows on that side of my house, and it's just been plywood all winter. So they're downstairs building the bench part of it. I told them not to bother me, but we'll see if you.
Wow, you weren't just being dramatic then.
I wasn't being dramatic.
Wow, that is.
I had no windows. We had to throw. We didn't have to. We choose to. We threw a holiday party, and it's in our dining room. So I was trying to figure out what to do, so it wasn't just this open wound of wood and plywood in our dining room. So we hung floor length tinsel from the
that's cute.
the window, the thing, gold, and then had put lights in, so it was this little prom wall. It was adorable. And then we just put the drinks in front of it.
Beautiful. No one's gonna notice. They're going straight for the drinks.
Exactly. Now we can talk about books.
Yes.
So today, we are here talking with the wonderful and hysterical Anna Gracia. And it's Gracia, not Garcia.
Thank you.
Just make sure everybody knows that.
You know what?
Because there's 2 letters switched. Anna, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for setting me up as
today?
being hilarious. And now there's a lot of pressure on me. And it just feels like I didn't come prepared. I don't know. Should I have jokes ready? I don't know.
Well, thankfully, I mean hilarious as in you're just naturally funny. I think you just, if you were to plan something, I think everything would just flop. It would be terrible.
Like if I just
I'm
came
not
in like
sure.
a tight 30-minute set.
A
Yeah,
tight
I don't
30
think you could
minutes
do it.
that.
I
No, I
feel
mean,
like
my therapist continues to assert I should be a stand-up comedian, which I think is a bad
The highest. That's the highest compliment that I could get from a therapist personally. I would be thrilled if I got that. I'd be like, that's been my entire goal in coming to these sessions.
I think it's a bad sign. I
I feel like
mean,
that's a terrible thing for a therapist to say and be like, "Oh, you're so funny. You should
Oh,
make this your career. This your extremely low-paying career. You're already in
yeah.
publishing. Let's get into stand-up comedy."
I don't know. I mean, I might make more in stand-up comedy. You really don't know.
I guess that's true. How
I,
much do open mics pay?
2 drinks?
yeah, exactly. My boyfriend is a stand-up comedian. I can confirm that they don't make a lot of money.
Guess what? Neither do writers.
You know what? I was watching some of your earlier interviews. I love your haircut, by the way, because I saw it was like longer in some other interviews. It looks so great. I love the little like
Oh,
blonde at the
thank
swoopy.
you. I call
So
it
cute.
Midwest Soccer Mom.
I love it. And I saw you were talking about that, like people feel like once you get a publishing deal that you are like a millionaire all of a sudden. I think that's so funny. I guess like now that I've had these conversations, I don't think that way necessarily before. Maybe I did before that. Are people assuming that you are just like rolling in it because you've published a book?
Yeah. I think once like your name is on something, people just assume. It's like actors, right? Like when SAG
Yeah.
went on strike and people were like, these actors are millionaires. I'm like, like 10 of them are millionaires and everyone else
Yeah.
is like an extra that gets paid $100 a day.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
there's people who like work steadily in like acting and publishing both who still need day jobs or second jobs just to keep themselves afloat. There's some people who like want to be actors and they're in multiple things, but like they are just under that part of the union amount of time that they're allowed to work to get health insurance.
Oof.
And so they have to get a second job to get health insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody's poor except for billionaires,
Well,
and
it's like
they're never going to give out their money. So,
I think they show
well,
the things where it's like they asked people like how, like what percentage of the country do you think makes over like $100,000? And people will be like, oh, I don't know, like 35%. And it's something absurdly low.
Yeah.
People
Well,
really overestimate how much money other people have.
Well, one time actually my boyfriend was walking around his neighborhood and there were him and I both did a Netflix show, like a reality show, and then we do like content creation stuff, but by no means do we have like a million followers. Like it's, we're very like low level on the whole scale of it. But someone had asked him to donate to I can't remember what it was, but they were working on some charity. They had like a clipboard situation and they were getting donations from everyone walking by. So he gave them $30, which like if I'm not like investigating a cause and I just have $30 and I donate the whole thing, like I feel good about that. That's like a good amount of money. And they like heckled him and they were like, we know how much influencers make. You should have more than that. Only $30. And he was like, first of all, you have no idea how much money I make because it's nothing. Like he doesn't really lever, especially it's different for boys than it is for girls, but on these platforms. But yeah, he was like, what a crazy assumption to make that I just have like oodles of money. So weird.
I think that's crazy for anybody to assume about anybody at all. Like,
Yes, it
it's
is.
I think it's weird
also,
to
I feel
insult
like,
someone over their donation.
yeah,
I know. It was
They could have just said no.
right.
or they do what I do, which is like most of the time, if it's a clipboard person on the street, I'm just like, I walk away because they
Yeah.
actually, anytime I want to actually donate something, I'm like, okay, well, here, I'll give you this cash. Like, oh no, we can't take cash. It's only, you have to give us all of your credit card information right now. I was like, absolutely not. No, I'm not going to give out my credit card information to somebody wearing a shirt that also looks pretty crappy on the side of the street in Philadelphia. That could be anybody. It's actually probably a really great scam just to walk around asking for donations.
That's so true.
But
Anyway,
that's going into my like conspiracy theory, which we talked about last week. So I don't think we
yes,
should be
we did.
talking about
We did delve into that,
conspiracy
but
theories every podcast.
I mean, there are
that's
enough of them. We could.
Yeah,
It
that's true.
was fun. It was fun conspiracies. Anna, do you have a favorite conspiracy that's like not harmful? Like
Oh,
anything
I'm
that's
sure I
fun?
do. Shoot, I would have to think
I
about it
know.
though.
Think
That's
about it as
amazing.
we're talking, and at the end, you can tell us if
Yeah.
there is. But first, tell us about well, I want to hear about your new book first, The Misdirection of Fault Lines. Tell us about that first, and then we'll get into your first book, your debut.
Okay. It is basically a book about 3 different teenage girls who go to an elite tennis tournament, which I hear tennis is very in thanks to Carrie Soto. Is that
Who's Carrie Soto?
it's the no,
Is
it's the
that
I'll
book.
take
It's
your
the
word
Taylor
for it.
Jenkins Reid book. It's like
oh,
I don't know if it's just called Carrie Soto. It's something Carrie Soto. I don't know. I heard it's about tennis. People are
okay.
talking about it. So I'm like,
Oh,
"You like tennis?"
Carrie Soto is back.
That's
That's
what
what
it
it
is. And
is.
I'm like, "Oh, I also have a tennis book, and I'm not famous, but you could also read it." So it's about 3 teenage girls who are heading to this elite tennis tournament, and they each have their own sort of like motivations and hangups for competing in them, and they end up as roommates. And so it explores each path that each person has. So the first character is Alice, and she is sort of like the person that feels like they shouldn't be there. Sort of
Mhm.
like the wild card. There's always somebody that everyone's like, wow, how did they get in? And she's that person. And so she's got those hangups and all of that. And she doesn't have money like everybody else. And she's kind of there and she doesn't know if she wants to be there. And then there's Violetta, who lives there. She's one of the like tennis academy kids that lives and boards 24/7. And she is like meant to be the next big superstar. And she's the influencer and she's like the golden child and she's ready to win. Her mom used to be a professional. It's like, right, heritage, everything's going down. And then their third roommate is Layla, who used to be a top star and then disappeared from the tennis world 2 years ago, and no one knows what happened to her. And now she's back and she is pissed at everyone and ready to, she's the I'm not here to make friends person on the reality show.
Love it.
I think my most important question is how much does Violetta get paid as an influencer?
I
Oh,
did think about that, and then I was like, I don't know how much influencers get paid. So instead, I went with she gets a lot of free products, which felt
that's true.
Yeah.
reasonable, right? Like I was like, okay, she could like barter for products, and that
Yeah,
seems realistic enough.
that's true. And then
That's
the other truth is that all influencers are so rich. That's why
Yeah.
I'm in my parents' house.
and the free stuff is actually publishing as well because I get free books all the time now too. I didn't used to. My first like full first year of like being a debut author, I was expecting free books all the time. Nobody sent me anything. And now all of a sudden, I've like in the past week, I got like 3 books in the mail for free. It's so
I'm sorry,
exciting.
what? People are just sending them to you?
Yeah. And they sent my agent an email asking if they could send me books too, which is so exciting.
Be like, I actually live at 2 residences. This other one is in San Francisco, and just address it to someone else. It's fine.
Address it to my assistant, Anna.
Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
I thought that
Um,
the getting free books was way cool too. And then the first time I brought home like a huge stack from a convention, I was all excited and I like gave them to my kids and they were very blasé. Like, oh,
really?
thanks. And I was like, these aren't even published. And there's like a whole stack and they're free. And you people are supposed to be nerds. You should appreciate this more.
Kids just don't
I love it.
appreciate the value of free books.
Thank you. I know. I'm like,
They really
oh,
don't.
what? You could just go to the library? Fine, whatever.
Fine, whatever. Oh my gosh. Okay, but the misdirection of fault lines sounds awesome. I like that this is a story that's not maybe it is like somewhere down the lines, the fault lines perhaps, that is like overtly a rom-com or like a young adult that's like romance centered. I like that there's other stuff going on and it's just about the journey of these girls in this like I'm sure highly competitive environment.
Oh yeah, I don't write YA romance. I should be
We'll
very
get
love
into
clear.
that even more with the first book.
They are not romances. Please don't go in thinking they're a romance. No, this is definitely like a friendship story, and it's kind of exploring just the different sort of relationships. I think that tennis is a really interesting like microcosm of sports because it
Mhm.
Yeah.
is so wealthy and it is so white and so
Yeah.
expensive. And so in this book, all 3 of the girls are Asian American, but sort of like differing types of Asian and amounts of Asian, and sort of like how that affects, I know, well, there's really not a better way to say it, sort of how that affects their journey through this world, because it matters.
I do love that it is like a sister story too. It's like it's just about like them being like kind of learning how to be friends, and it doesn't focus on that romance. It is just more about sisterhood and just like kind of connecting with people on a level that doesn't have to be romantic. And that's, I think, what's so exciting about this. I think there's a lot of kids who aren't looking for romance only kind of plots in YA. I think that there's plenty of people who are looking for YA with romance subplots, or even the whole plot is about romance. But I think that there's an entire market of kids who are like, well, I do want to read things that don't focus on just the romantic stuff. So I am excited for kids to get to read this one. Especially, you're right, like the microcosm of the tennis world. And it is a very specific type. Like, even I've been reading, I think I'm like halfway through it right now. And just, I know you made up this tennis invitational. It's
Bastille?
is the school called Bastille too? Or is it just the invitational?
It's like a tennis academy. Right?
Yeah.
It sounds so real.
It does. And it's like, just like I think it's in like the first couple of pages, you're like, it's weird that it looks like somebody's idea of what France looks like put in Central Florida. And I was like,
I love that.
That is absolutely something that would happen. This feels so realistic.
I mean, if it was going to be anywhere, it was going to be Florida.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, who would throw a bunch of money somewhere to make something hideous? Florida.
Florida would.
Yeah,
Florida
it works for Disney. Why not for the tennis elites?
Exactly.
Have you ever heard people use the phrase, like, it looks like they drew something from memory? Like, it sounds like it would be like, this school looks like if someone drew France from memory.
It's like the back half of that horse illustration where they're like, the front half is done and then the back half is a sketch.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like I would go to like Brandy Melville and buy a t-shirt that's this big that says Bastille tennis with like 2 tennis things. Like, that feels, honestly, I think you could make some great merch for this. And you know who would buy it? Me.
Yeah.
Graphic design will be my passion. I mean,
all Comic Sans.
See, if this were not a podcast, I could pull out. So my mom made for all of us when we became adults. We had all these tennis t-shirts from all these tournaments, right? You get a free t-shirt and they're almost always hideous. And so she took all of these t-shirts and she stitched them into a quilt. And they're so fun to see because, I mean, you can see them and you'll be like, oh, that was the 80s. Oh, that was the 90s. I mean, the design is really very reflective of the times.
That's amazing. Wait, so you did play tennis like throughout your life?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's very cool. So did you compete in competitions like this, like the one you described?
Sort of. I mean, this one's a fake one, but yes. I mean, I started playing tennis as a kid. I think I played my first tournament at like 7. And then I played all the way up through college. So, and then I stopped for a long time because I was burned out, like so many other college athletes.
Fair enough. I have my worst sports story, the one that I tell when people ask if I play them and why I don't, is tennis related, because my dad put me in tennis lessons. He really tried very hard to find a sport that I would like. So this was certainly not the first one, but I was so bad that my instructor thought I might be left-handed. I'm not, but he was like, let's just try. And so he had me play left-handed. That also didn't work. I don't know why he thought that. He was, in retrospect, probably like a high schooler. So he was like, let's just see what happens.
To be fair, so I've also coached tennis and I have done that and they have turned out to be left-handed. So it's a legitimate thing where you're like, wow, this person's really bad. Maybe they're left-handed. And it does happen sometimes.
That's
Maybe
so
I'm left-handed.
We're finding out something new.
Although it's also weird because there are people that play sports left-handed but are right-handed, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Like Nadal was his uncle, Rafael Nadal. Yes, nod. Do you know who that is? Okay.
Everybody knows who Rafael Nadal is.
Just
yes.
Nadal. Okay. All right. So he's like one of the greatest tennis players of all time. And
Okay.
he is known for being a lefty, but he is
Mhm.
not left-handed. And so his uncle said when he was training him to play tennis, he purposely trained him to be a lefty because lefties are so much harder to play. So he's right-handed in everything in life except tennis.
I
And then
think
he
that
ended up being
there's
exceptional at tennis? That's
And
wild.
I mean,
I
these
think there's
people trained
also
their whole lives for this, right? Like, you don't accidentally become a pro tennis player.
Right.
that should be a rom-com, somebody who accidentally becomes a pro tennis player, and it's just like, "Oh, I just have this natural gift." That's a villain, actually.
That
That
is
is a
Yeah,
villain
yeah.
for
No, it
because
would be like that.
everybody who works so hard would be so pissed off.
No, you know what
Like,
it'd be like? It would
"Fuck
be
that."
like that woman snowboarder. Do you remember what happened in the last Olympics? There was like this woman who qualified for the Olympics in the half pipe, like skiing or snowboarding, and essentially she was like a beginner skier. Like she couldn't do
Yeah.
anything, and essentially she had
Wow.
qualified because she had paid to go to all these international competitions, and essentially you qualify if you place in the top X number of international competitions. So she basically bought her way in by flying to all these low populated tournaments and then qualifying for the Olympics. And people were so mad. You should Google it. It's like
Wow.
it's offensive how bad she
That's
is.
that's like the girl who bought her way onto the New York Times bestseller list a few years ago.
Way to
Who
work
did
that back into
that?
the books. I'm sorry. Good job.
Yeah, exactly. We gotta bring it back to books somehow, and it was a YA novel, too.
That's why it was scandal. If it were nonfiction, they'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
everyone does that.
Yeah. Well, nonfiction, they all have the little plus signs
I know.
next to
And they
them,
all do it. They all
and
buy themselves onto it.
this one she didn't, though, because I think the cutoff for bulk buying is like, I think it's either 5,000 or 2,000.
Wow. Why in my head was I thinking it was like 20?
No, no,
Wow,
like,
20 is a
this
lot of
is
books at once. You're like, it's 5,000.
maybe it is that, I don't know, but she was basically calling bookstores. We'll have Phil Stamper on the podcast at some point because he's the one who kind of exposed the whole thing happening because he
Ooh.
was working at Penguin at the time. I
Oh.
think it was Penguin. But like there is a certain way that you can buy under, like, just under whatever the bulk purchase is. And she was calling independent bookstores and buying in bulk just under that number. And
Wow.
knowing that those independent bookstores, she would call all of them and ask if they report to the New York Times. And if yes, then she would buy a certain amount of her own books from them. And it was her first book. It was self-published and it didn't have any marketing,
Mhm.
but she was friends with the guy from American Pie, and
Wait,
he
which one?
he's not the main character, and he's not Stifler, and he's, I think, the nice guy.
The
Whoever was with
Oh,
Tara Reid, I
uh-huh.
think. He was gonna make it into a movie, and she was gonna star in the movie, and they had this whole
Oh,
plan,
and she was
and
gonna
then
star in
Phil
it.
Stamper, yeah. And they were gonna sell the books at Comic-Cons too, after it became a New York Times bestseller, and because of that, New York Times does not go by sales anymore. That's why it's a curated list. It's
Wait,
all
it
because
wasn't
of
a
this
curated
book.
list before that then? This is why
No,
it
it was
became a
like
curated list?
it was basically you could buy your way onto it, and people would
Wow.
probably do that, but it's like they had a little bit of marketing behind them. This book, there was nothing. No one had heard about it.
You know, it's really hard. I'm kind of torn. On one hand, like, you gotta respect the hustle. I mean, that is some
Yeah.
Yeah.
serious dedication. Like, if you're gonna subvert the system, she went all in. Like, she was like, "I'm gonna order in
Yeah.
bulk. I'm gonna star in the movie," and, like, I mean, it's hard to be mad at that kind of, like, zest.
Yeah, that's a solid hustle. But also all I'm thinking of is the like if her book was like $15 and she spent all this money buying them, why didn't she just use that money towards a marketing budget?
Because this is
So it's
more
because
effective, I guess. I mean, think about it.
I
Then you're like,
guess,
"I'm a number
yeah.
1 New York Times bestseller."
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like a shore like thing that you would actually that's wild.
And I think at the time it was like it would have been shocking to see this self-published book just debut at number 1 on the New York Times list. Like that is
Right.
its own marketing. And I mean, technically it was its own marketing thing because then her career went down the toilet. But it's also she was spending all of this money on the books knowing she was getting a discount on them since it was
Mm.
like just under that bulk buy. And
Yeah.
then on top of that, she was getting all of the books, and then her plan was to go around to Comic-Cons with it and sell it at full like face value. So she was actually making money on it, probably,
I mean,
if
she had
she
a full
sold the
business
books.
plan, apparently.
Yeah.
Wow.
Business schools would
And-
love her. They would be like, look at her. This is like the epitome
An
of
entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it was the American Pie guy's idea. He was bankrolling the whole thing as a producer.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
I love that you just keep referring to him as the American Pie guy.
I don't know his name.
No,
I didn't know his name when he was in American Pie. Oh, it's Eugene Levy. That's his name. No, I'm just joking.
Oh,
What would you do if that was? That would be so
oh my
upsetting.
God.
I was like, wait, what?
It's like, of all the people
Just kidding.
to not
Eugene Levy had
know.
nothing to do with that. I need to say I was just kidding.
Oh my God.
Producer Matt wants to know which character. Kevin, I think.
It's
his name
important to
was.
know. I know. Because, you know why? Because Kevin Kline also did a movie about authors.
Not that one.
Oh.
He played the character Kevin. This guy played the character.
It's the little
Kevin, I
one.
think. Yes, the little one.
Oh,
I forgot he was shorter.
Rookie of the Year.
Yes, he was in Rookie of the Year. Yes, that one. Thomas Ian Nicholas. Okay.
Wait, Rookie of the Year, that's the one set in Minnesota, isn't it?
I don't know. I just remember he breaks his arm, right? And then just has the really good fastball.
Yeah, and doesn't he like pitch for the Twins? There are only so many things that have Minnesota on them, and as I'm from Minnesota, I like am obligated to know all of them. And I want to be clear before you ask, Fargo is in North Dakota. Thank you.
We know.
No, you know what? People don't know. And they ask all the time, and they'll be like, oh, don't you know, are you from Fargo? And I'm like, hey, that's rude. I don't make fun of your accent, okay? Fargo's in North Dakota, so get an atlas.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Does Monday at the office feel like a storm? Not with Microsoft Copilot. That feeling when Copilot gets everyone up to speed instantly? It's sunny again. When Copilot simplifies complex data so your teams can act, that sun's shining on a beach. And when Copilot uncovers hidden insights, you're on that beach with your people, and you find buried treasure. That's Microsoft Copilot. Learn more at Microsoft.com/AI for all.
We're making an ad.
Napping ads.
I hear that Gary Sinise is free.
Oh, okay, great.
He hasn't worked since 2020.
So, what would be the script that we would have Gary Sinise say for the Napping Through Happy Hour podcast?
Listen to this damn show. Damn it.
The Napping Through Happy Hour podcast brought to you by Geekscape.
Real life, real drama, real time.
I'm Gary Sinise.
That's the ad. That's the ad. That's the ad.
We should get back to books.
Oh, right. Yes, of course.
Specifically your books, Anna.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Boys I Know. This one, when did Boys I Know come out? Was it 2021 or 2022?
2022.
Okay, so it's been a minute. Was that your first published book?
Yep.
How did
Also
that feel?
not a romance.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely not a romance.
Why are we very intense about that? I feel like there's an inside joke happening and I'm on the outside.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because the entire book is about her romantic life.
Okay.
But it's not a romance.
Oh, that's interesting.
But you need to know that going in, because people that are expecting it to be a romance are disappointed when it's not.
Oh,
it's more about her her name is June, the main character. Mm-hmm. It's more about June kind of taking her life back from boys, kind of. Like,
I love that.
She just, it's about her making her own choices and doing what she wants to do in her life. And for a lot of it, it does focus on her being like, okay, well, I like this boy and I'm going to make this boy a part of my life. And it's like how that kind of doesn't work out for her a lot.
Mm.
Is that a good pitch for it, or is there a better pitch that you have for it, Anna?
No, you'd think, and yet I never actually formed a pitch. What I used to say is I'd always be like, oh, the book will make you really uncomfortable. And then my publisher was like, please stop telling people that. That's not it. Which for me it did. I was like, oh, really? That's so weird. It's just sort of
I
like
have
very.
swag.
Oh God. Oh.
I have swag of what Anna gave out from when I met
Is
her
it
at
a condom?
YALLFest.
It is.
It is a condom.
It is a condom.
Wait, Anna, can you tell the story about you giving these out at YALLFest? It is a young adult book festival.
When I got yelled at?
Yes. Tell that
Oh.
story.
Okay. So I was handing out the condoms. For me, I find that they're a very good screener of like who should read the book. Because people that are like, oh,
Okay.
interesting or get a kick out of it, I'm like, oh, okay, you might like this book. If people get offended, I'm like, oh, you shouldn't read this book.
Yeah, yeah.
It's about a girl in high school and like discovering her relationships, right? So there is sex in it and like the relationship she has and all of this. It's very messy. And so I was kind of handing them out and people were getting a kick out of it. I got a lot of parents that were like, it's too late. And I was like, it's not. You could stop having more kids, but whatever.
Oh, God.
A couple of lesbians had a good laugh on that one too. One grandma came back and took a whole handful and said, I have a granddaughter at college. Can I get more?
Love it.
Yes.
And I was like, go for it, grandma. And then I walked up to this mom and daughter and I had said, hey, blah, 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 I have this book. Would you like a condom for it? Like a custom condom. And the girl is reaching for it. And the mom like slaps my hand away. And she's like, you shouldn't be offering that to my daughter. She's too young. Like, shame on you.
Oh my God.
The daughter was 19. Which is the funny part. I'm like, I'm not walking up to a 12-year-old offering them a condom. Right. Like, she was a fully grown adult daughter. So that happens sometimes.
It's crazy because her reaching for it confirms that she was not too young. Because obviously she was like, oh, okay. If she was actually too young, there's no way she would have even tried.
No, most people get mortified. Well, so this is the other thing is like sometimes teenagers will come and they're like, oh, they turn all red. And I say, listen, like if you are too squeamish at the thought of a condom, you're not ready to read this book. Right? Like if you can't even say the word, you're not ready. That's my marker for it.
Yeah, that's a great
That's why
strategy.
I think it's perfect swag.
It is perfect swag. I know. So this is why I'm like, so everyone's like, what's the swag going to be for the misdirection of fault lines? And I'm like, I don't know.
Tennis balls.
Right.
I
know.
Like, can't do that.
What are you going to do with that? There's nothing there. I don't have anything good for it. It's probably too late. Anyway, it comes out in like 2 months, but
yeah, I feel like just with your second book, you tell me, this is now this will be your third book when it comes out, but the second book that you have coming out on March 5th, is that correct?
Yes.
Is The Breakup Vacation with MTV Books, but that one is adult, and we don't talk adult on this program.
No.
So you can do a little pitch at the end, but we will not talk about this.
No,
this
you're not talking about it.
The Misdirection of Fault Lines is technically going to be your third book when it comes out. So has anything changed between the first book and now the second and third since they're coming out so closely together? Like with you.
What do you mean by changed?
Like just like do you get excited for it still, or are you more nervous than with your first book, or are you more excited? Are you equally excited? Are you just kind of like, I'm working on whatever else right now. I'm focusing on that. Leave me alone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we supposed to be working on something else?
Girl, I know you're working on something else because you asked where your little knitting circle characters were going to have their knitting meetup. So
my God.
I am exposing
You
all
are
of the
exposing
secrets.
Me. I'm definitely not more nervous. I think like I don't know if I shouldn't speak for everyone, but most people I know, I think, felt sort of like sick around their first debut. Like you're like, I want it to be over. I just like, I want it to be over. Like I think I sat in a dark room for like a week and ate cake. So this time I don't feel like that. I definitely think I'm looking forward to it more because I'm not anxious now that I've done it before and you kind of know what it's about. And I don't know, like you already realized, hey, like the world did not come crashing down the last time I launched a book. And it's a sophomore book.
I fled the country.
No one's
with my
ever
debut.
like, you did. That was smart.
That's what if there are any budding writers out there who maybe their book is coming out in the next year or so, plan a vacation to another country just the week that it comes out.
Smart.
Because
Eric, you go
if
so
you're
well in the tennis world. Just plan. Why don't you plan a quick ski vacation? Maybe go to the Alps.
yeah.
It's a great
Yeah.
place. You know, no Wi-Fi. It's just really calming.
I actually, it was funny though, because like I feel like you can't do that if you end up being like a lead title, which
Oh, I was like,
I was
you
not.
don't have money? No. Okay, continue.
I mean, technically, Anna, you were a lead title because your publisher only published what, 4 books?
3.
Because you're a brand new
So
impress.
it was
Oh,
3.
cool.
So it's like everybody's a lead title here.
That's why I didn't go
With
to the
me,
Alps.
yeah. You had too many other things going on.
Yeah.
But with me, I wasn't a lead title, so I was like, well, I know I'm not going to get anything from other than like what I set up in my own hometown. I'll do like a book event here. And so I was just like, I know that if I'm home, I'm probably going to be just like looking, like refreshing Amazon and seeing if I'm getting reviews, seeing if people like it on Goodreads. And I knew that was going to be like not healthy for me. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on vacation. So I asked my partner, Mike, I was like, let's go somewhere. Where do you want to go? And we ended up going to Spain. It was wonderful.
That's lovely.
Yes. And then, of course, the week before we're supposed to leave, I get an email from HarperCollins asking if I want to do an event, like a book event. Thankfully, it was all virtual. So I was
Oh,
like,
I remember. And we were talking to
sure.
in Spain. We found the best location for you to take the interview.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And it was 1 a.m. Spain time. And I was exhausted too, but I still stayed up and I had a little glass of cava there. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to drink a glass of cava at 1 a.m. and take this call from the United States. And
Eric,
just
I gotta
talk
tell
about my
you,
book.
Events are very low pressure. I'm like,
Yeah.
me and the 3 people who are on here, including the moderator.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, Mom. Thank you for logging in.
hello, Mom.
I'm just
Oh
kidding.
my God.
Mom.
Anna, do you check Goodreads? I've heard that Goodreads is like the bad neighborhood for authors.
I mean, I think that people who say they never look at Goodreads are liars, but that's just my opinion.
I agree.
I think everybody looks at Goodreads and
Yeah.
you just don't talk about it because nobody wants to admit, like, I read Goodreads and somebody said something really mean about me and it hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Because you sound like a loser because you shouldn't be reading it. But yes, I've read Goodreads. No, I definitely don't check it every day. And when I see something mean, I just go ahead and log out and pretend like it doesn't exist for a while.
Yes.
I think most
Delusion.
people are just going to see, like, how many ads do I have? How many reviews I have? And then while you're there and wanting to avoid writing, you're like, you know what else I could do is read them. And that's never a good idea. No. I know. And everyone's like, oh, you find a buddy and they screen it for you and then they read them and they forward you. No, you know what? That's like putting systems in place. Like, I don't even plot my books. You think I'm going to put a Goodreads, like, key lock system in place? No.
Wait,
Good.
so you also don't plot your books. This is I need to know.
Finally.
So every time we've talked about how, and like I am not a writer, so this is all like new to me. All the other people, not all the other few people that we've spoken to, other authors had like dozens and dozens. They had very specific writing processes, and Eric is just like chaos in comparison. But now I'm feeling like you match his chaos. The energy seems.
Mine is stressful. In fact, we have a mutual friend. I actually can't talk about it with him because he gets stressed out. I don't back things up, and I don't make multiple versions. I just save over it, and then I rewrite. So usually the way I do it is I'll like draft a book. So I'll be like, I don't know what I want it to be about. And then as I try to figure out the plot, I just start over.
Yeah.
I start from a blank page and then I rewrite the whole book. So like the Misdirection of Fault Lines, I think I rewrote like 4 times. It was pretty
from scratch.
It was rough. Yeah.
That's wild.
I mean, well, yeah, because I remember my editor came back. Well, first because I had to pitch it and I was like, well, you know, so she was like, send me an outline. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. So I was like, let me just quick draft a book and then make an outline from that. And then
That is an easier way to do it, though. I've learned that, like, if I have a book that I'm trying to pitch to my editor, it's so much better if I have already written the book, because then I can write out the outline and explain what happens.
Well, this is what I thought would be easier, but it turns out when you like don't have an ending, don't have a middle, and then there's just big gaps where I write question mark, question mark, question mark, or like something big here. But I don't know what to tell you.
I turned that into my editor.
She bought it. I don't know. Like she saw it and she was like, check, yes. So then I like sent it into her and she was like, but what if we changed everything? And I was like, oh. And she was like, how does 6 weeks sound? And I was like, that sounds great. Let me just rewrite it.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Stress. That sounds so stressful. I don't know how you do that.
Well,
so what were like the major changes from the first draft to what the finished book that's coming out?
I think originally I wanted it to have over the span of like a school year.
Okay.
That's Boys I Know is her entire senior year. I'm like a long timeline person. And then we
I like
condensed
that.
it to a month. And then my editor was like, can we make it a weekend? And I was like, oh, wow. That's a big difference. So I kind of settled on one tournament, but then I kind of cheated and I gave myself like a qualifying tournament plus the regular tournament, which takes a week. So in total, it's 11 days.
Okay.
But, that was probably the hardest part, is then I was like, shoot, I have to fit it to like a calendar. Like, right? Like instead of just getting to be like, oh, and it's this day again, like I had to be like, today is Wednesday, July 5th. What is happening today? Right? Like what matches have to take place and what times will they be and how many courts are in this facility? And you know, people say world building in fantasy is hard, but world building in contemporary, I think, is actually worse because
it is
accurate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like I was like, how many hours is this flight? And like, how many hours would it take to drive to the airport? And, you know, like things like that. How many hours of daylight is it? Oh, is it dark? Well, then it has to be 9 p.m. I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned between my first book and my third book. So the third book is the sequel to All That's Left in the World, my first book.
Oh, you must have
and when I was
much for the first one.
You what?
Your first book must have been so much with all the distances they're walking.
It was. So that I would get notes from my copy editor saying, oh, they've walked this many miles in this amount of time. That's not possible. How do you want to fill in the blanks here? And it was multiple times, especially because I had rewritten and moved things around. So they're like, I had real towns that I went on Google Maps.
Yeah.
And when I first wrote the first draft, I did the math. I figured out how far they would get, and I made that route the way it was supposed to be. But editing, I needed to move things around for the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so they came back and they kept saying all this stuff. So I'm like trying to do the math and I'm trying to put in this new locations. With the third book, I was like, no, all of the locations are fake. I'm making up every single one of them now. And now my copy editor is circling it or like highlighting and going, I couldn't find this spelling. Is this a fake place? I'm like, yes, everywhere is fake now.
This is why I made Bastille, because I was like, you know what? I've been to those tennis academies, and first of all, like they're all kind of the same, especially now, like IMG Sports. It's like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever like been there or seen it. It's like, it looks like just giant like dorm rooms and then like corporate housing. You know what I mean? Like it's very bland, very regular. Everything's like super high tech, whatever. I just think it has no personality. But also, you know, I'm like, I don't want to write like the Chris Evert Academy and then have Chris Evert come and be angry at me with like how I'm portraying things, right? Like, I'm not going to disrespect Nick Bollettieri, so.
It's also frustrating because if somebody ends up going there, they say, that is not what the dorms are like.
Well, exactly. I was like, oh, now I see why people like writing fantasy. You can just make up whatever you want.
Shit up.
Sure.
Yes.
It's France. Why not? Every housing plaza has a Joan of Arc statue in the middle. Why not?
Yeah.
Love it. As they should.
I do love that that's the only statues they decided to put. They're like, well, who's French? Joan of Arc. Perfect. Let's not do anybody else.
I went
just
from like
Joan
an
of Arc.
Americanized perspective, right? If you ask like the average American, what do they know about France? Those are the ones I picked. Like the Bastille, Joan of Arc.
I love that.
So the trophy for the tournament is in the shape of an Eiffel Tower. It's all very tacky and gaudy.
I love it. I love the intentional choice in that.
I mean, listen, Boys I Know sold in French, and I'm a little concerned they're going to read this book, and then I will like be banned from the country.
The French are
But
gonna hate you.
they are going to hate me. It's true.
But maybe they'll know. Maybe they'll know. They'll be like, it's so on the nose. She must be joking, and that's funny.
I hope they.
I feel like
know.
you do, because I think the first chapter is from Alice's perspective, right?
Yeah.
And I think she comments on it that it feels like it's the Americanized version of like France, like they pretended like
I mean,
they
it's
went to
absurd.
France once.
Like it's
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. That is my
Maybe they'll
humorous
love it.
side element. Like instead of a funny side character, I'm like, well, the the grounds.
I
Yeah.
love it.
The Joan of Arc
France-
statues.
France drawn from memory. That's what it is. It's so good. I love that.
What if you end up being like, what if the French, they think that it's so gaudy that you end up being like the John Waters for France? Like they just start looking at it and be like, oh my God, this is disgusting. I love this.
Well, what I'm really trying to do is like instead of like Harry Potter world, I would like them to build a Bastille that you can go
Oh,
to,
they're
and you're
definitely
like,
going to do that.
oh, I'm gonna head from like the Louvre glass pyramid over to these lavender fields, over to the Arc de Triomphe. It's like Paris in a day.
I love that. I would get an annual pass to that place.
Depends. Do they have cheese and wine?
I mean, it is for minors, so yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was going to say.
It is for minors, so of course.
Yes, they need it.
It's just like part of life. I don't know. It's not like they wait till they're 18.
No.
That's very
They
true.
start feeding them. They put like wine in their little baby bottles.
But apparently
The French.
19-year-olds are children, so who knows?
Yeah.
Although they
Can't
did
give them
say, when I was
condoms.
researching all this, they were saying that like binge drinking in France is on the rise.
Oh, really?
I know, which is kind of
No.
shocking, but I think it's probably like, influence from other European cultures.
The UK.
Well, but apparently,
England. No, I'm just
yeah.
I'm not.
No, I've never in my life, like in England, if you have a spare 30 minutes between plans, you're like, want to grab a pint of beer? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
Well, I want to be clear that
I do.
actually a sizable amount.
Yeah,
I do. I want to do that.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, this is my stupid fun fact. Do you know that the phrase mind your P's and Q's is from that? Mind your pints and quarts? Like from a bar?
What?
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah.
I did not
But
know
I didn't
that.
remember I knew that until you said that.
That's very cool.
Is it? I mean,
it's like something my mom says all the time to me. Like she has like random phrases that she says all the time. And it's that. And then she uses like what's that word that she uses all the conscientious. She's the only person I know who uses that. She's from the Bronx and has a very thick Bronx accent. I'm like, what a weird word to use.
Can you say it
Whatever.
in Bronx accent? I need to know. What does it sound like?
You?
So one of the words she says all the time that's very thick in her Bronx accent is because.
Oh.
Because you have to be more conscientious, but that's the thing, you can't say it in a Bronx accent. Like you can't. It's just like it sticks out like a sore thumb. So mind your P's and Q's is another one that's just not really fitting. Now that I know that it's pints and quarts, it's not fitting the rest of the vibe. I don't know where she learned this. She went to Manhattan College. I don't know. I'm so confused.
All the like English settlers that came over and like left their, like ancestry.
Their trail. Yeah, I don't know. Very weird. Very strange.
Colonialism. That's what I just answered. Colonialism.
There, that's it. That's exactly.
I mean, right?
All right, so Anna, now I think you can also plug your adult book, The Breakup Vacation, if you want to tell us about that.
This is a YA podcast.
Yeah, but I mean, we're here to support you. So you have 2 YA books, and now you have this adult book that's coming out as well. It'll be out by the time.
Is like more of like a new adult because they're in college.
Yeah.
So it's technically adult, but it definitely has a young vibe. So yeah. I do think it's like a halfway stepping stone because they are technically adult and they definitely are like drinking and having sex, and it's more than like a regular YA adult. I mean, it's set in Cancun. It's about a college girl who gets broken up with by her sort of boyfriend. Like she's like in like a situationship in college, and then he kind of ditches her, and she decides that she's going to follow him to Mexico without telling her friends. So they plan a trip And she is following her ex to try to like win him back. And then while they're there, in the meantime, they meet new people. She may or may not have a new fling, but they are in Mexico as American college teenagers. And so there is that there is that aspect as well. There's a lot of drinking, a lot of clubbing.
Love it.
Well, that's why it's being
very
published by
like
MTV
fun,
Books.
trashy.
I didn't know MTV
Shore
was a
vibe.
thing. I didn't know MTV Books was a thing.
Yeah, so they actually published The Perks of Being a Wallflower,
Mhm.
and then I think now they brought it back and they're rebranding it.
So they just published like 16 and Pregnant by
Yeah.
Lala Thomas. Thomas.
That's so interesting. I mean, I loved Perks of Being a Wallflower. That was like when I was in my freshman year of high school. Me and my friends thought we were very edgy for reading that.
That was the edgy book
That
to
was,
read in
I
high
don't know, but
school.
that response was top tier.
I yeah. I have a picture that I found a couple of days ago, actually, of me and my friend both reading it at the rap party for when we did Les Mis, this is the most freshman year of high school sentence I've ever said. This is that picture. I'm sorry for the people who can't see it.
Oh
We
my
were
You're
both
reading it
reading, and this is my
at the
friend who
rap
just
party?
yeah, like what?
Theater kids are the best.
I
At our
Wait,
rap
this
party, we
is-
all opened a novel and we were like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna read a sad novel together. Like it's not
Right.
even an upbeat one. Like it's a really sad one.
It's so sad.
I know.
And
I watched the
where
movie.
was this story when we were talking with Brian Kennedy about his rap party nonsense?
I know. I just found these pictures. So this was I was just refreshed on this recently, and yeah, it's just bad. All of it's bad. My friend looks like a rat in the middle. What is happening?
Different
And all of the aggressive stippling on our face because we were in Les Mis and I don't know why we were
on
reading
your face
books.
for Les Mis. I need to what?
So stippling is like when you put this like brown. It's like
No, I know what stippling is, but why?
Oh, okay.
Les Mis specifically.
Because we had to look like dirty, I guess. I don't know.
The revolution. Nobody can bathe.
Yeah, so I guess that was the thought process. But we all just were like brown and smudgy and just terrible. It was, I don't know why. I don't know why we did that. It was bad.
No, that makes sense. I just wasn't, I don't know.
It just felt aggressive. A little,
It's the
a
one
little bit.
part of France that you didn't research in your world building for the misdirections.
No,
of
you know what? I'm
Faultline.
gonna like blame this on my aunt. So when I was like 14, maybe, I went to New York for a tennis tournament and I stayed with my aunt. And it's like the best memory I have because it was I think it was one of the only tournaments I got to go to without my parents. Like I got to travel with someone else's parent, and their parent was like a cool parent. So we got our own room, which when you're 14 is like a very big deal. My aunt had brought us like a cake, and we ate, like we kept it a secret in our mini fridge, and then we ate the cake for breakfast. Like we grab huge handfuls of cake and then eat it for breakfast. And so I stayed after, and she was like, okay, you know, you're turning 14, happy 14. What do you want for your birthday? And we were in New York, and so I said, I want to see Les Mis on Broadway. And she was like, I was thinking more like a tour to Niagara Falls. So that's what we did. And I was like, oh, I guess that would be nice too. Thanks. So we toured Niagara Falls.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah,
It was,
that's
but
great.
I was like, I wanted to see Les Mis. But apparently, you know, that's, I don't know, costly. I don't know.
And in retrospect, Les Mis is so sad. Like you would have just been sitting there and like, I think you would have regretted it. I think you would have regretted that.
I did see it as an adult, and I was like, wow, it was much more exciting in my mind. And here I am on like hour 5, and I'm like, I'm kind of ready to wrap it up.
It's giving tired.
It's giving Wagner.
And yeah, it is. It really is. Yikes. I love it.
So I know to go to Niagara Falls instead of see Les Mis if they revive it. Good.
Yeah.
You know what?
I only saw the movie.
She sprung for like, you know, like the ponchos that have like, you know, Niagara Falls in it. So it wasn't a cheap trip. You know, like if it were my mom, she'd be like, okay, let's stop at the grocery store. We're going to get like plastic garbage bags and you're going to put that over you to like save money.
I mean, that works though.
It does.
I've done that.
I know, and I want to make fun, but it's true. I'm like, I'm not springing for a printed poncho. What do you think?
Also, do you know how hard it is to find ponchos?
Yes, I do, actually.
Like, what area of the store are the ponchos in? Can you tell me off the top of your head? Because I had to get ponchos. My birthday, we went to Monster Jam, which, if you're listening to this and you have not been to Monster Jam, go to Monster Jam. It's great.
Wait, what is Monster Jam?
It's monster trucks just driving around.
I was like, I don't know. Is it sponsored by Monster Energy? Like, I have follow-up questions.
No, I don't think so. But it is big monster trucks driving around a dirt stadium. And listen, I will say, it's like 2 hours. We showed up a little late. We showed up right at intermission. Perfect amount of time. We got 1 hour. It's the last hour, and it's the exciting hour where all the monster trucks are just driving around doing tricks.
What's
and, like,
the
they
not
do
exciting
these
hour?
giant things. What's that?
What's the not exciting hour?
Oh, so they
Yeah.
it's the first part is them doing like it's more technical things. So they're like showing you how they can drive on 2 wheels. And so it's like it's very much them just trying to show you how the monster trucks work, and it's like introducing you to all of the characters because it's like wrestling. And but like you
It's making
vote
way
on
more
who
sense
wins
now.
and
Thank you.
everything.
Yeah.
And then the last is the freestyle, where they basically have 3 minutes to destroy their car. It's fantastic.
Do they have names?
Anyway.
What?
Is each car named?
Yes.
Is that
So
like
all of
Blades
the
in
cars
Monster
are named.
Machines?
And the most famous one is Gravedigger. And I think there are probably like 10 of them throughout the country that just keep going all over the place. My favorite was the shark one. It had like a
I really
shark
liked it,
fin and
though.
everything, but I forget
They're
what its name
all
was.
over the U.S.
Yeah, they do like 4 at a time on the same night throughout the country. It's great.
Wow.
YAOK is now sponsored by Monster Jam. I don't know why, but
I don't understand, man. I don't.
listen, go and just bring earplugs. You'll love it. I promise
I
you.
was
If you're
invited
there
on a
for like
date
an
once
hour,
to a monster truck rally, and I was like, I don't think we're
yeah,
compatible.
it's fantastic.
But now I kind of wish I had gone.
Yeah,
Nothing
you
else than a
should.
free ticket. I mean, I'm not paying to go to it.
I
But
want to
anyway, it was
go
supposed to
as a
rain, and I
bit.
needed to get a poncho, and I couldn't find them. I had
Wait,
to
I'm
like
sorry, you
go
want a
into
poncho
a
from
drugstore.
the dirt?
So that's the other thing, though. It didn't end up raining. We didn't need the ponchos.
Oh, is it
But
outdoors?
like we were, yeah, it's outdoors. Yeah, but no, but like it is outdoors. You're
an open stadium.
You can't be inside with all of these giant cars blasting
Listen, I
carbon
grew up in
monoxide.
Minnesota. Our stadiums are indoors, okay?
Well, mine are outdoors. This one was outside, and I will say that you do get a lot of dirt on you. Like when I walked out, there was like a little film of dirt on my glasses.
Ew.
And every once in a while, I would get like pelted with rocks.
You
And
could
it
have
wasn't
been
like
in
I was
Les Mis.
close.
Could have been the Les Mis.
Oh my God. They should do Les Mis with all monster trucks.
Oh my God.
Les Mans.
Do you think they could get Joe Jonas again? He could be like the
Oh
one.
my God.
There was this children's show called Blaze and the Monster Machines, and I want to talk about it because it is my least favorite children's show. I hate it so much. And it's monster trucks, and they all talk except the one that's driven by a person, and then the person talks, but their truck doesn't.
Oh.
And it makes
Oh.
zero sense. It's like Thomas the Tank Engine, except weirder, if that's possible. All of the monster trucks talk except the one that's driven by a person.
That's really weird.
It's upsetting.
That sounds like a fever dream situation. I don't like that.
I'm pretty sure it's the same people that make Paw Patrol. So
that adds up.
No, that's bizarre. I don't like that.
Thank you.
I don't like that at all.
That was a conscious decision, and I don't know why they made that decision, and I kind of don't want to know.
Because
It's
they were
like a little
high as
disturbing.
shit in that writer's room. That's
Probably.
why.
I thought all the high people went to like SpongeBob.
There's enough to go around, I feel.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to stop it. So let's talk about Anna. Why don't you tell us? Are you reading anything good right now? And it doesn't have to be YA.
Oh my gosh. Well, I am in the current. Oh, I don't have my book in front of me. I am currently reading No Time Like Now by Naz Khatib, which just came out yesterday. And I'm going down for his launch event this weekend in LA. And so that is what I am reading currently.
So exciting. I blurbed that one.
I know you
loved
did.
it.
I saw
hope
your
you
blurb
love
on the
it
back.
too.
Would you like to hear Eric's blurb of this book?
Yes, I
Yeah.
would.
Reading this book is absolutely time well spent.
They edited like 2 sentences out of my blurb. And Anna also just dropped another sentence too. They made it sound like I didn't even read the fucking book. I was like, guys, what is this bullshit?
Eric, you have to sue them. That's a horrible.
I was like,
if I looked at the back of this, I would be like, this guy Eric fucking hates this author. Oh
Right?
my god.
It's true. I would be like, why are you including this? No,
I was
That's
like,
wild.
and they cut the most interesting part of the fucking blurb too.
But at least they used it, because what I really
Yeah.
don't like is getting asked for a blurb and you provide it and then they do nothing with it. And I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? I dropped everything I was doing to read this book and then you did nothing with it.
That's happened to me a couple times. I'm like, did I write a bad blurb? What the hell?
I mean, honestly.
Well,
And
did
I
you
didn't,
write them
because-
all as being just a good way to spend your time, and that's
Right.
it?
I do not regret reading this. Send.
It's a time joke because he's like frozen in time the whole book and he's time jumping. And I also had a whole line about how it was a space-time romp adventure, blah, blah, blah. And I did it like in that sentence
True.
explain that
saw
I
this
read
whole
this book
blurb.
and enjoyed
You were
it.
cheated. You were absolutely cheated.
I was.
That's wild.
So I'm reading that one.
Bloomsbury's
And
on
I'm
my
also
shit
reading Beating Heart Baby by Liu Min that I just picked up.
I love the cover for this book too. It's so cool.
Ooh, wow,
Also
that's
like a
beautiful.
space-time one. So I was like, you know what? Maybe they go together.
It's the
I'm just
theme.
gonna,
It's
like, go
the
full
double feature.
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, that's a beautiful cover.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, and they're sending me a free bento box with it. So I was like, how can I say no?
Absolutely.
Right?
That's exciting.
Okay.
No. Sold.
All right, well, I want free swag. Wait, that makes you an influencer. Oh my god.
Me and my 800 TikTok followers are going to be ecstatic.
Yes.
This is the most full circle we've ever had. Full circle
think
moment we've
so.
ever had on this podcast.
Yeah. This is how we know it's working.
I like how you say ever. Oh my god, this is like the best ever in our entire
Ever. Out of the
podcast.
dozens of hours of podcast recording that we have done.
We're esteemed podcasters.
Yes.
Welcome to episode 3.
Anna, thank you so much for coming on to our 3rd episode of YAOK.
I love
It
it.
was wonderful.
3 is my
talking
lucky
with you.
number. Like
Everybody.
Love it.
half the population. We all like the number 3. Everyone does.
It's a good number.
It is.
If you are listening out there, I believe that at least the Breakup Vacation is available wherever you buy books.
At Target.
That's big news, by the way, because Target has a very small book section. So
Yes, they do.
for your book to be in Target, that's a big
I
deal.
know. That's why I'm bragging. Hello.
So go to Target and buy the Breakup Vacation. It is adult, but buy it anyway for the adults in your life. It is out March 5th. And then the Misdirection of Fault Lines comes out on April 2nd. Is that correct?
Wow, you are, yes.
Yeah. Cool. I got it. I'm usually terrible with dates, but I was in my mind, I had that March was the Breakup Vacation. I was like, okay, so that is the 3rd month. The next month is the 4th, April 2nd. Okay. I don't know why that worked, but it did. My brain doesn't work the way it normally does, but
I'm really glad
know,
that
right, normal
you
people do.
did remember 3 and 4 back to back. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
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 It's big.
That's and it'll help everybody else at home remember too.
Yeah. That 4 comes after 3. Absolutely.
Yeah. April 2nd. The Misdirection of Fault Lines. Not at Target, but anywhere else you want to buy books.
Online, thanks.
Oh my god. Just hot
Anna,
messes.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. I
having
hope
me.
you
This
enjoyed
was
your time here.
Okay. Well, see ya.
When she asks me how far we can take it, I tell her we can take it across the entire universe. You are my universe, I'm just a planet.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of YAOK. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram, YAOK. and keep up to date on all of our new episodes. Eric, what are you reading?
Our Instagram handle is YAOK Podcast.
Oh, did I not say that? Oh my
No,
God,
just
sorry.
YAOK. But it's at
Yikers.
YAOK Podcast.
It
I
is.
am
It is.
reading, I'm actually still reading The Misdirection of Fault Lines by Anna Gracia, which is so delightful. And if you want hilarious, very funny sisterhood of the traveling pants, but in a French themed Floridian tennis tournament, it's the book for you. And I think you're going to love it. What are you reading, Alyssa?
I am still reading that freaking book that I've been reading for so long, but I finally got the audiobook. A Court of Wings and Ruin. I've been reading it for like 3 weeks, and that's a long time for me to be reading the same book.
And didn't a new book in that series just come out like last week?
It came out like maybe a month ago, something like that. It's
Oh, okay.
recent. But I think after this one, we'll see. I said this about the last one too. After I finish this one, I'll take a break and like read something else. And then I got to the end of this one, and I was like, shit. All right. Well, now I have to know what happens. So we'll see. I would like to take a break from this series just so that I can get like some other books under my belt. And
Yeah.
I just got the audiobook for this, which I hate doing because like reading is so peaceful and nice, and now it's like one of those things where I can do without multitasking.
Yeah.
Or feeling like I have to multitask. And if I'm listening to an audiobook, I'm 100% multitasking.
Same.
So I got the audiobook to push through the part. There's a lot of it that's like about war, like the actual dynamics of the war that's happening, and that's where I'm struggling. But I think I'll finish that book this week with the help of the audiobook. And then maybe I'll read Boys I Know, because that sounds like it is so up my alley it hurts.
I really think you'll like it. You'll really like it. I think you should read it.
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it right now.
So next week when we record, I want to hear that you're reading Boys I Know.
That's exactly what you'll hear. I'm excited about it.
Thank you for listening, everybody, and come back next week and hear Alyssa talk about Boys I Know.
Yes, exactly.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.